Tu sei abbastanza spogliato, devo dire.
Beh, ogni tanto arriveremo al nude. Alla fine.
Pieter Mulier II, or Cavalier Pietro Tempesta, was born in Haarlem, Holland, in 1637, and is regarded as one of the best Golden Age Dutch painters. He's not here tonight due to previous engagements.
Obviously.
The Pieter we have has a degree in architecture at the Institut Saint-Luc in Brussels. The plants on his rooftop gardens were chosen between the ones that resisted the atomic radiations after Hiroshima. For some reason, he chose not to design houses, but went on an internship at Raf Simons studio in Antwerp in 2002, was promoted senior head designer. He followed Raf first at Gilles Sander, then Dior, and then Calvin Klein, but not at Prada because he was appointed creative director of Alaïa in 2021. There are difficult jobs in fashion, but this was Sigourney Weaver against Alien difficult. Walking through a world full of zombies in The Last of Us, or trying to convince Trump that no, we're not going to buy a Tesla. He not only achieved the task, but brilliantly took the brand to a next level that we all are in love with. Tonight is with us the one and only Pieter Mulier.
Ciao. Ciao. Thank you, Andrea.
I didn't know you had this painter.
Yeah, I do. He's not family.
He's
at
not
all.
related.
No,
Okay,
no,
it's not an
no, he's not
ancestor.
related.
Okay.
But he's quite a good one, a good painter.
Right.
He's famous for seascapes.
And he
So
actually
storms
lived-
on seas.
And he lived in Italy.
He
Rome,
lived
I
in
guess.
Italy, and the biggest collection of him is actually in Italy and in Prague.
Okay.
France has a little bit, Holland has a little bit, but a lot here in Italy.
Okay.
And it's only seascapes. It's a bit Turner before Turner.
Right.
Ah, okay.
It's very dark, extremely dark, very tormented. So he could be family, but it's not.
Yeah, I can see some similarities.
A little bit.
Okay, so the first question, Peter, is every single designer in the world is going to have or just had another job. Is there anything that you want to tell us tonight?
About other designers. There's nothing. No, there's nothing. No, there's nothing to say. Nothing. I'm very happy where I am. It's an honor where I am, because it's a rare place, Alaïa, to be in the fashion world. People talk. Fashion has become football.
Yeah.
Everybody's interested. The CEOs are as important as creative directors now. Money is as important as creative. It's another world.
I always think, how do you react in general when you see
To
these gossip?
rumors?
Yeah, to rumers. Are they like just funny or not so funny?
It depends if
the rumor is true or
no,
not.
not even. And one, the rumors are not true. And number two, if my name is in the same sentence with a big house or a house that I like, I take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
If it's with a house that I don't like, I take it badly.
Okay.
That's it.
I am not going to ask you the names.
No, we are not going to name
Maybe at
names.
the
right?
end, if we had wine, I would tell you.
Oh my
But
God,
we
let's
don't.
bring some
We
wine
don't
now.
have wine.
Why don't we have it? So, Peter, you have a degree in architecture.
Yes.
So you planned your life differently, no? And then, what made you fall in love with fashion and stop you from pursuing a career in architecture?
But I was quite a lost child.
Okay.
A very happy child, but a lost child. I have a character that I'm 46 now, but I think is somebody as 35. I think I don't look like 35, although I would
You
like
totally
to.
look
But
like
I think
35.
like somebody young. So even at 18, I was thinking like somebody of 12. So at 18, I had to go to university. My father said, you have to do something. I said, I don't know. And he said, do law. You talk very well, you're charming, do law. I said, okay, I'm going to do law. So I went to law school for 2 years, passed.
Okay.
And then I was 20, felt like 16. Told him, I like buildings. And he said, okay, you have a degree in law now, go and do architecture. I said, yeah, why not? I could be an architect. He said, yes, you're charming,
So
you
you
talk
got
well.
a degree in law?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, so I have a degree in the first 2 years. And then I went to architecture school. found myself on many levels, finished it. And then by coincidence, I met somebody who is Raf in my end year degree, in my diploma year, who was asked to be in the jury. And he looked at my project and he told me in front of everybody, you are not an architect.
Oh my God.
You are somebody that should work in fashion. And I said, I don't think so.
So you told
you
Raf
were not
Simons, I
interested
don't
in
think so.
fashion at that
No,
moment.
not at all. I come from a Catholic family. I was raised without fashion around me, although my grandfather had a shirt factory, but very classic shirts.
You never played with dolls.
No, I never played with dolls at all.
Changing
I
the
played
clothes.
no, not at all. I wasn't that kind of a kid.
Right.
And also, when I met Raf, I was actually thinking I will be the best architect in the world.
Really?
Yes. So I came home. I said to my girlfriend back in the days, I told her, can you imagine Raf Simons said I'm a fashion designer? And she said, call him. I said, no, I'm an architect. She said, no, call him. You have to call him.
Because she was in fashion.
She was very fashion.
Right.
Very fashion. And the next day I called him and he said, come to my office. And then 2 days later, I went to his office. We had a meeting, and he explained a little bit why he thought I was more fashion than architecture. And then he also said creative. I mean, who cares if it's buildings or clothes? We all talk the same language. And I went home. I told again to my girlfriend, I'm going to work in fashion. What do you think? And she said, yeah, go. And a week later, I started, and I never left.
And how was working with something that you didn't know?
Well, I didn't become his right hand in the beginning. I did an internship for a year.
Right.
And then I was the assistant of an assistant of an assistant
Okay.
for another year. So I learned everything from, they put me on production, they put me with the pattern making, I ordered buttons for months, stuff like this.
Right.
And I took the time to look. Raf always said, it's very important for you to look at stuff. Because also culturally, I mean, the fashion, I didn't know who a lot of people in the fashion world were. So it took me a while. But then after 2 years, he said, okay, I think you can become my right hand now. And I became his right hand.
And what was the part of the jobs that you instantly liked more? Like fabric research, in tailoring?
I love the tailoring most because I joined at a moment where Raf's tailoring was just the best tailoring in the world and copied by everybody. So I loved that the most. I loved the most working with the factories and the pattern making divisions because there was a human aspect to it. Also, back in the days, the studio, we were 4 people in total. I mean, it was a very small company. So the idea of learning by just sitting there was already a lot for me. Me coming from a small village, knowing who Tadawando was, but not knowing who Alaïa was. So it was interesting. It was really, really interesting. And then going to Paris, doing fittings, doing shows, all of that was new. So it took me 2 years.
Because he was doing showing in Paris, right?
Yeah,
So
no, twice a year.
Twice a year,
Yeah.
you would just go to Paris and show there.
Correct. So it took me some time, and after 2 years, I became his right hand, and I stayed for 14 years.
Can I ask you what you liked of him?
Of Raf?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a better question what I learned from him, because he's one of my best friends now, still, and basically his family. But I think I
Can
learned.
you tell him that we would like to interview him?
I will.
Okay.
He's here. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I learned from him to be open, very open-minded towards everything, number one. I learned from him also that everything around you can be an inspiration. And number 3, and that's the most important thing, I learned from him that you can never do what other people do. That a singular view in fashion is the key to success. And from the moment you see something else, you can clap.
You can clap. You can clap. It's fine.
He's there. And that is something that is really embedded in my mind. That if it looks different and if it's quality, it's the key. That's why still now, for instance, we prepare a show, and there's some old people of my team here. Even when the show is 3 days before our show, and we see something in those shows that reminds of us, we take it out.
You take it out?
We take it out.
Of you.
Of you.
Oh,
Or
wow.
something that is in the same mindset, we don't do it. We take it out immediately, and we see what else we can do.
Oh, God. But you started working as an intern with Raf
Yes.
In Raf Simons' studio in Antwerp, no?
In Antwerp.
A city that since the 80s and the Antwerp 6 has had the highest concentration of revolutionary designers in the world.
Yes.
But what with Antwerp? Do they spray something in the air to make the designer feel inspired?
No. Well, we are genius people. So that's already that. No, I'm joking. I think it's we as Flemish Belgians in Antwerp, we come historically. We have been conquered by everyone.
Okay.
We're a very young country, if you think about it. We're 1850 or something like that. We were based, and before we were owned by the French, by the Dutch, by the Spanish. So I think it gave us also quite an open-minded view on the world, that mixed with the fact that Antwerp is a harbor, the
It's a
second
harbor, yes.
largest harbor in Europe. So there's a lot of impressions, cultures coming in constantly in that little small town. And number 3, it's an education.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the school, the academy in Antwerp was one of the best schools in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think the academy, the school, and Linda Loppa?
Yes, I'm actually quite sure, because Linda and of course her whole team and Walter afterwards, they had a way of educating people in fashion that's completely different than other schools. Like extremely open-minded, but very tough at the same time. So it means that the technical aspect was tougher in Antwerp than in all other universities in Europe. It was with one leg in history. You know, they're very famous for historical costumes. With the other leg in pure technique, pattern making, pure technique, doing everything by hand. And if a third leg is in pure creative. They're also the first ones that used to stage big shows where young kids, students felt like real designers, that it's not only a show, it's a project, it's them. It was quite a new way to show clothes, and also a vision on fashion that was the opposite. Was actually basically a reaction to what we know in the 80s, that was the boom of finance, the boom of Italian fashion, and a little bit French fashion, but mostly a reaction to the Versaces at the time, you know, the Mugler in France, all of that glam. What is it? And I think Linda and Antwerp was like, for us, it's the opposite.
Resist.
Yes, resist.
Yeah.
And also Flanders and Belgium, we're famous for, not so much. We're famous for white cotton, you know, the most simple things in the world. So this mixed with everything was a pure reaction to everything, to the top models, all of it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But
Comunque,
anyway,
ragazzi, è inutile
I
che ci
wasn't
mettete
there
il
at that
monitor
point.
se non funziona.
Cosa?
Che è inutile che ci mettono il monitor se non funziona.
Is it working?
Si va
It's
indietro,
working.
vorrei dire.
Ah, okay, it's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Technical things.
Tocca a me?
Yes, it's your turn. I know you're lost in time, but
Sì. No, I just wanted to tell you that the last time I was in Antwerp, it was to watch a share show.
It was?
To watch a share
Oh, really? She came to Antwerp?
show. And I wanted to ask you if I should be reported to the fashion police. For
Not
this.
at all. I love Cher. No, not at all. I
was
love
really
Cher.
there for that.
Really? Was it good?
Yeah, because my husband works for her.
Ah,
With
really?
her, yeah.
We share?
with
Yeah, he's
Cher,
in-
yes. It's a big manager. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so we went to meet her.
Let's say hi to Giuliana, who is not here.
I didn't even know she came. But it's funny, my sister just gave me the book.
I know.
Apparently it's very good.
And it's only the first chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's an
There's 3 chapters more.
There's 3 chapters. She's an amazing person.
Yeah,
She's
I
really,
can
really
imagine. But did
nice.
you like Antwerp?
But I went to Antwerp many times.
Ah, okay.
For like fashion-related things.
Ah, okay.
Of course, I went to the museum.
But it's good next to all this intelligent, dark, heavy fashion to go to share. It gives
It's a cultural class.
it gives a full balance.
No, but it's so strange because for us, Antwerp is like a mythological place.
Yeah, it is.
And when you actually get there, you kind of, it's not so, you don't really quickly understand where all this is coming from. It's a town, it's a very beautiful town, but it's not like, dark or there's not
No.
Gothic places and all this. So it's a bit hard from the outside to understand what you were talking about.
Yeah, but I think you have to look a little bit further than only Antwerp. I think Flanders plays a big role in it. Brussels, of course, plays a very big role in it. We're also a country, a very small country, who speak 3 languages with 3 cultures.
3?
Yes, we have German. Yeah, we have French, which is a completely different culture than the Flemish, and all 3 live together. And the idea that the 3 cultures come together already give another energy than other countries could have, because it's in such a small surface.
Yeah.
But there's also a link between Italy and Belgium.
Because there are many Italians.
There's many Italians, and I think it's also historical. Because a lot of the economy in Italy was very linked to us. And I worked here for a few years at Giuliana. I always felt that there was a connection between Italian culture and Belgian culture.
I wanted to ask you something you said before about the vision that you had of Italian and French fashion at that time, which was around 2000?
2000.
Right. Which was very glamorous and very in your face and very mainstream in a way.
Very.
Right.
Alta moda.
Yeah, but and so you're also saying that what Raf did and what you did was a reaction against that.
Because I'm from the generation where my biggest idol in fashion was Helmut Lang.
Yeah.
And he, of course, was the biggest reaction to all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically said all the top models out, big shoulders out, jeans on the runway, cowboy boots on the runway, a pant on the runway, that's it, with a feather in the hair, that's it. I find it modern. We don't need paillette, we don't need fur, we don't need all of that. That's what it is. So I think this reaction was something very mid-90s from a lot of people in fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you perceive now, for 2 questions, why do you think they left, him and Martin Margiela? Why do you think they stopped at some stage?
I think Helmut stopped, unfortunately, because he was fed up with it.
Right.
I think he had it, and I think he had other ambitions in life, and I think he proved himself. Because I mean, you're giving 2 examples now of 2 fashion gods.
Yes.
2 gods that changed fashion and fashion history.
Yeah. Changed the way we dress.
Changed the way we dress. I mean,
Yeah.
you're wearing a top in laces.
Cute laces.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's Margiela, 1993.
Yes.
And we're 30 years later. I don't know, what brand is this?
It's a new brand. It's Galip Gassanov Institution. It's a
But
young designer.
Can you imagine 30 years later? It's still an inspiration.
Yeah.
So I think Martin, he did a lot for pop culture, for fashion culture, and basically on the way we dress, as you say it very well. Helmut Lang the same.
Yeah.
So I think from the moment you reach that level of you're a fashion god, I think at one point you're there like, what else do I have to say?
Okay.
It's
you
like,
reach a climax.
yeah, I think it's like a good sportsman. It's always better to leave at the height of a career and not at the low. And I hope for them both is that and Helmut became a very good artist.
Yeah.
Martin became a very good artist also. So I think at one point they were like, okay, our creativity inside, we can translate it in another way.
A question that I wanted to ask you later during this discourse, but I'm going to ask you now. Do you think you are going to be a designer forever, or you put yourself some timeline and you said, okay,
Well, I'm 46 and I feel like 35. so
you have
it
a
means,
long way to go?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think the fashion world has become more difficult and more difficult and more difficult.
Absolutely, yes.
So far, I'm still having a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I think I have still a lot to say. I think from the moment the fun is gone and I don't have anything to say anymore and I only do it for the money, I'll become a gardener or something, or something else, something interesting.
There's also something about gardening. Dries is a very
Dries,
good gardener.
Yeah, very good
John
gardener.
Galliano.
The Malemester is a very good
Yes.
gardener, and they all do gardening.
Yeah.
So, but the other question is, do you feel that today there's this will to react to mainstream from independent and young fashion designers?
Yes, not a lot, but yes, I think there's a platform now for young designers to react, and that platform is always there. Is it calmer than normal? Yes, it is, and it's normal also because the price of putting a collection out, doing a presentation, doing a show, talking to buyers, talking to journalists, doing your Instagram. I mean, all of that has a price now, which is not the same as 20 years ago or 25 years ago. So of course, voices are less. But the good thing in the time we live now is that you don't need to do a show to change something.
Yeah.
We live in a world of images. So through social media, one image could change something completely in a career of a young designer if it's different and if it has its own voice.
And are there names that you like? Designers that you like?
Young?
Young.
I like this Durand, for instance.
Romantic,
Durand.
yes.
I like a lot. At least it's different, at least it's consistent. I like a lot.
And he's Dutch, right?
He's Dutch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's not Belgian. It's Dutch.
So we were talking about fashion system nowadays. You were telling us that, a designer, whether it comes from, it's an emerging one, or when it works for big conglomerates, he has to do a lot of things. It's not enough to be a designer anymore. You have to be fluent in the merchandising language. You have to, go through your social media platforms. So you have to do a lot of things. And the mental toll it takes, it's a lot. But you, from your point of view, on the outside, you seem to be pretty chill. So I wanted to ask you now, what's the contact of your analyst, or eventually the secret of this recipe?
Well, I have a very good psychotherapist. And I'm not giving the name.
Oh, God.
No, I'm joking. No, I have one, and it's a very good one. And I need one also, because I do think that the job that I am doing and many people are doing here working for a fashion company is a very hard one nowadays. And the idea of fashion designer just designing, making a sketch, passing it in the atelier, having a glass of champagne, clapping when the model comes out, it's the opposite of what we're living in. I mean, I start at 9 in the morning and I finish at 9 in the evening or at 10 in the evening, and I work. I mean, am I lucky? Yes, I am. I'm very lucky to work in a world where we can create beauty, where we can change things on a lot of levels, and where we basically just play around with things that are not important. But it is a hard job because you get criticized constantly. I work for a small company, but an important company.
Absolutely right.
So people are very, very eager to give opinions and to criticize. So that is something that, as a designer, as a creative person, as an artist, everybody, an architect, whatever, that's something you need to accept. Very easy, very easy. And that's also something that journalists and people on social media, I don't think they get the full idea of what it is to constantly bear
Absolutely,
a
yes.
child every 3 months.
No.
And for some designers, a little bit more, every 2 months. And to get criticized every 2-3 months for something you think in your heart is the right thing to do.
Do you read reviews?
I don't.
Okay.
I read his.
Ah, that's great.
Because he tags me.
All right. You can stop working now. Peter reads your reviews. So it's fine.
Honestly, normally I don't. I don't read the press.
We actually met because of this.
Yes,
because,
I texted you.
Yeah, because you texted me.
Yeah. So no, normally I don't. On Instagram I do because people send me stuff, and although I say I'm not gonna do it, it's like drugs, you know. You look.
Yeah.
So you look. So I do, and on Instagram it could hurt my feelings in the company. And my right hand for the press is there. I tell them to write me a message if it's good or bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you went at some point, Raf was appointed at Jill Sander first.
Correct.
And then Dior.
Yeah.
So you kind of all followed him. You followed him.
Yeah.
And of that time, I remember that we were all kind of missing the Helmut Langs and the Margiela and all these. And it was amazing because there was someone from, peripheric that was getting into the main stage, the big building. And it was very comforting. How was to go from such an independent and radical, point of view and possibility of doing everything you wanted to have rules and also have a heritage?
At Jill Sander, or
both.
Jill Sander was actually an eye opener because but first of all, at Jill, I only did accessories. I did shoes and bags.
Yeah.
Because I traveled between Milan and Antwerp, so I did the full studio of Raf while Raf was here, and I did up and down between Milan and Antwerp. And I have to be honest, I was here for 7 years and I loved Milan.
Really?
Yeah, I loved working here. Even if I was only 3.5 days or 3 days a week here, I loved the way of how Italians look at fashion, to work with Italian factories. At Jill Sander was mostly family factories, so all of that was quite new for me. So I loved it. I loved it. Jill was actually quite easy because it was, she's German.
Right.
We are from the north, so it was actually quite easy to understand the vocabulary and the DNA of that brand. It was also a big eye opener to what real luxury was, because Jill Sander back in the days was still luxury when we arrived.
And it was also the first time Raf was doing women's wear.
Correct. So all of that was very exciting. I never did shoes. I was dreaming of women's wear, but Raf didn't allow me to do women's wear back in the days because I was half in Milan. So I did that. And then 7 or 8 years later, the phone call came from Dior, and Raf said, "Okay, now you can do some women's wear. You can come with me.
You were allowed to.
and we'll do Dior." And I said, "Yeah, why not?"
And I was
Dior was amazing for me.
Because you were doing couture, right?
I was doing everything at Dior.
Everything. Okay.
Everything, from accessories to ready to wear to couture, all of it.
But which were the difficulties? Because it's huge brand with an
The
incredible
difficulty
heritage.
at Dior was well, it starts with the positive.
Yeah.
The positive at Dior is that, one, it was for me personally a dream to work for a couture house and to work with ateliers.
I mean, the day you all walked into the archive, what was it like? Do you remember it?
I remember very well, very well. We spent a few days in the archive, Raf and me, to go through everything, and only that was amazing. But the full experience of working for a house with such a heritage, such an important heritage, was just sublime, really sublime. And we were very excited, very ambitious to start there. We stayed for 3.5 years. The only difficulty at Dior was doing 6 collections a year. That for me was quite difficult on many levels. One, to have the ideas. Two, to build it out commercially every season again. And number three, to get the teams, the creative teams and the ateliers full energetic, so the machine could keep running. And basically get Dior, my biggest job was doing that, giving energy to everybody around me.
And you were also still doing Raf Simons? No, you were not doing that anymore.
I was full-time in Paris. Yeah.
And do you also remember the first time you did a meeting with the merchandising teams?
Very well. Very well, but I stayed with Raf for 16 years. So basically, he was my husband, if you think about it. And a lot of people now, especially young kids in my studio, they say, but why did you stay 16 years with somebody? And I always answer, because I was happy. I was really happy. I was happy to stand next to somebody who has such an important point of view. I was very happy to move with him and his team through all these houses, because I learned in every house something else. Accessories at Jules Sander, the taste of what real luxury is about in still a conceptual way, because Jill was actually quite a conceptual brand if you think about it. Dior was couture, Paris, culture of salon, all of that. Calvin was basically underwear and how to talk to boards and at board meetings, calculating budgets, fighting with everybody to get what we want. So every episode of my relationship with Raf was like a school.
And do you also remember the day you split up? You kind of...
Yeah, I do.
You
Very well.
Ways.
We were fired at Calvin Klein.
Well, we remember it.
Yeah. And actually, until this day, I still think it's not okay that we were fired, because I still am very proud of what we did there.
We all are. I mean,
It was amazing.
Yeah, really. I still think that what Raf and the team and what we all put out there, because we work day and night for that company, what we put out there, if I look at it again, and that's rare in fashion, that you look still at old collections that you were part of, and I still like it, and I still like to wear it, and I still like the relevance that those 2.5 years were politically and culturally of what we had to say about America. And even today, it still feels fresh.
It still feels relevant.
It's very relevant, extremely
Considering
relevant.
today, yes.
Maybe even more.
And it was also a school. I mean, it was a school for me of what to do, the power of money nowadays, and how disposable a designer is.
Yeah. But I think American in general have a bit of difficulties in fashion, not in art, not in cinema, to look at themselves.
Yeah.
To look at their own culture from an outside perspective. It's very weird.
I agree, and it's very difficult to pinpoint where it comes from. I think it comes from an idea that America has about comfort.
Yeah.
I think that's the start of it.
Yes, it is.
Because if you think about comfort and if you think about fashion, there's no link
No, there isn't.
whatsoever to it. And if you think it, you're a bad designer.
Yeah. Fashion has not to be comfort.
I mean, Giorgio Armani built an empire on it. So, on comfort.
Yes and no.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying.
Not at all. If you put a woman fully in sequin with a hat fully in sequin, tell me the comfort.
He's totally right.
Yeah, but
the idea of comfort of linen pantsuits, all of it, I get it. But in the end, fashion is not comfort. Clothes is comfort. Fashion is not clothes. Fashion is something completely different. Fashion is an outlet, the way we express ourselves to say something else to somebody else or to ourselves. It's a tool of communication. It's not just a legging or something comfortable, or something, what's the term that everybody says now? Quiet luxury.
Oh my God.
I
Are you
mean,
fed up
honestly,
with quiet luxury as much?
luxury should not be quiet. So it's I think that's the thing of America. But if I circle back to Calvin Klein, I loved our period there. I really loved it because it taught me a lot about a lot again. And it also pushed me, and then back in the days, I was nearly 40, or was I 40? Yes, I was.
Yes.
I lie about my age constantly, so, so I have to ask. I also decided that maybe it's time for something else. So, so we took the joint decision that to part ways and to do something else.
Was it hard, painful?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I felt it, that it was the moment. I also felt that fashion was not for me anymore after America, because the European, let's say the Paris world, wrote a few times through headhunters to me that my career was finished after Calvin.
Really?
So I thought I'm going to become an architect again, or go into design, into furniture design.
And in fact, you said that in an interview with Il Sole 24 Ore, you said that you revealed that prior to Azzedine
Yes.
Alaïa, you were evaluating a job offer from a furniture company.
Yes.
And because you were fed up with the dynamics of fashion, no?
Yeah,
So-
I was fed up with it, and also we traveled. We were living in New York for three and a half years, and then we came back to Antwerp, and the idea to have a quiet life, just in Antwerp, because we didn't live in Antwerp for a long time, because we had Milan, Paris, New York in between. I was just like, okay,
was charming.
it's time to settle down,
Okay.
garden, cook.
But when you accepted, when you accepted Alaïa, were you not scared of being for the first time at the
No.
forefront of a brand?
No, because I did nothing for 2 years, and that's a tip I could give to everybody here who works in fashion. It's good to do nothing.
That's amazing.
No, really, really, it's really important to do nothing sometimes. So I didn't work for a year. I was in communication with a Swiss furniture company that asked me to become creative director. I was very excited by it. To do the idea of doing one chair a year, I was already like, oh my God,
Oh my
genius.
God, that's amazing.
And get paid for it. I thought that's what I want. But then companies started calling me. Fashion companies started calling me, and you know, when you're used to the rush and the timing and the way we work and the way we work with teams, because we work with creative young people around us, at one point I started missing it.
You really?
Yeah, I really started missing it, and my garden and my dog and the food, and it was at one point I thought, I can't,
Maybe it's not
I
enough.
can't do that in a few years.
Yes.
So
There's still
I started
time.
meeting people,
Okay.
meeting companies, fashion companies. So I said no to the Swiss company.
Okay.
And then at one point I got a phone call of Richemont, who owns Alaïa.
Alaïa.
And so they said, yeah, hi, it's Richemont. I said, hi, I'm Pieter.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And they said, yeah, we're calling you for Alaïa.
Okay.
And
How was your reaction?
I said, yes.
Right away?
I said,
Okay,
yes.
I don't care.
And she said, when can I meet you? I said, tomorrow. So it was right after COVID, you know, where trains and
Okay.
everything did come. I booked a car and I drove to Paris and I met the CEO and the human resources. And that was our first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. And
But
I
you were
felt-
convinced right
I
away?
was convinced right away.
Okay.
Right away. And the other companies I was doubting, like, do I want to see merchandisers again in my life? I'm not so
Maybe
sure.
not.
Or, you know, do I want to make a line of sneakers again? No. So I went immediately and I met them, and, you know, I always let my heart speak very fast. Like in fittings also, I look at something, and if I get excited, people get excited. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
So I met them twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And then we were 6 months in. Then they asked me to draw a full collection
Okay.
of accessories and clothes. I did. I presented it to Richemont, to the board. And then it took another 6 months.
Oh, it was a long
It was a
courtship.
very long courtship.
Okay.
Very long. And yeah, it was a very long courtship, actually. But anyway, after 6 months, I called him and I said, listen, I'm giving you another 2 years. And I'm going to wait for your answer for 2 years,
Oh my God.
but not more than these
Okay, so you
3
put
years
timeline on
combined.
that.
Yeah, I told him I wait, but after 3 years, from beginning until the end, I move on. Because I really wanted it.
Yeah.
And a week later, they called and said, it's yours.
Well.
But why did you want it so much? What was your perception of the brand
I wanted
before
it.
going in?
I wanted so much for multiple reasons. It just felt right to take care of something in fashion. In a world where creatives are so disposable, clothes are so disposable, luxuries disposable, it felt right to take the name Alaïa, the house of Alaïa, under me and take care of something that important in the history of fashion.
Yeah.
Because that's also something, not every house is important in fashion. And in my heart, I know I only want to work with houses that are important, that change the way we dress, and change something in the silhouette during time. So that I wanted to take care of it. And number 3, it's rare to become a designer after the founding father.
Yeah. So nothing in the middle, you mean?
Nothing in the middle, no interruption. The house was taken very well care of, not tarnished by nothing. Every choice Asdin made and the women around him were very correct. So I thought, okay, let's go. Let's do it. And I jumped into it.
But then Alaïa has been famous for the description of the female body.
Correct.
And I wouldn't call it sexiness, but
You can call it sexiness.
okay. I did call it when Carla
With Carla.
was
Carla
here,
said
but she
it
didn't
was not.
agree. So I don't know.
Yes, she doesn't think it's a sexy brand. But I do like to correct her on that one. Because it is a sexy brand.
Yeah.
Asdin started in 1979, 1980 with an overtly sexual collection, and that collection changed fashion.
I think that.
So I get it for her generation that sexual and sexuality, to take it in the mouth, is a bit difficult, but it is a sexual brand, and it is the key to the success of that brand.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with saying sexual, nothing, because every woman is sexual. It's just the way you interpret it, sex.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, in all the previous jobs, I mean, I wouldn't say that Raf is really interested in that kind. I don't know. Maybe he is, but in a very metaphorical way. Was it difficult for you to face a brand that is so much based on the idea of body?
No. But let's say I was quite nervous in the beginning because, you say you come from Antwerp and immediately people say Margiela, Raf, Branchino, and basically they're all girls that hang on a chair and are quite dark.
Actually,
it's true.
what happened to her?
Veronique is she, after a great career, she stopped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But it's a vision of a woman that's the opposite of what Alaïa is.
Exactly.
The
Yes.
opposite.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my God, will it be difficult for me to go there? And I felt from the first 2 weeks I was in the company, it was actually quite easy. Because if you love women, it's easy. If you accept the way, no, I have to say it different.
Rephrase it.
I think I accepted the way women dressed at that moment of time when I took the company. Because after COVID, women were open to do a lot more with their body
Than before.
And I was actually quite lucky that we tapped into that, and that I took the decision to talk about the first 10 years of Asdin, which is from 80 to 90, which for me is the most beautiful part of his legacy. I understand that Carla thinks that the woman is more austere. But Carla joined Alaïa in 2001 or 2002. I don't remember the date. That's 20 years after the founding, the Bible that has been built out for his company. And there's a reason why people call him the king of cling, because everything was on the body, everything. And everything was overtly sexual, just in a different way than other brands were doing it.
I think the term body conscious was
Body
used
conscious,
to describe
it's
Alaïa.
completely as but what he had, and which is for me, which was for me the most difficult thing to understand, is that he talked about sexuality in a completely different way than all the other brands. It was never vulgar.
Yeah, never.
It was always very intelligent. And number three, it was on the edge, like on the knife of good and bad taste, which is for me the most difficult thing to do, because if you look at Italian companies who talk about sex, well, we're not there.
No, totally not.
I agree.
And that's where, for me, the key of Alaïa and also the commercial success of Alaïa was, because it was a platform where there's no competition around. The Dolces, the Versaces, the who else talks about sex? There's not so many, but it's not the same woman.
No, it's not.
It's completely, it's a sculpture, and she accepts why she's dressed like that. It's a choice. So after 2 weeks working with the atelier, I got it immediately what you could do there, and what was so unique and beautiful about the brand.
And those were people that used to work with.
Yeah. They're all still there. I work with the same people in the atelier. We work with the same knitwear companies. It's all still the same. It's basically inheriting a family company.
Yeah.
Which I like a lot. So because it's very human, extremely human.
And what's really interesting is, I guess, is that it's also a commercial success.
Yes.
Well, I can't really talk about that.
You can't.
No, I can.
I mean-
I can talk about the strategy that we build out in the beginning. And if I say strategy, it seems like I wrote everything down on a PowerPoint, put it in front of everybody and said, this is what it's going to be. It wasn't like that. But we did talk about certain things emotionally with the team. For instance, I knew that in the first 2 years of when I was there, that bags were not important.
They were not.
No, they were not important. I chose.
But you now have an it bag.
No, now after 2 years, we're 4 years in
Well,
now.
even the shoes are.
But we started with shoes, because I thought that the shoes back in the days after COVID was the new bag. And also that if we talk about Alaïa, it's a silhouette, and a shoe is part of a silhouette. A bag interrupts a silhouette. So to make something clear and statement-like on an image that clients and press would not forget, a bag would be too much to put it in. And then my CEO agreed completely. Although we did some bags, we didn't do a lot. We focused on shoes for 2 years, and repeated. And after 2 years, we added bags. So we build slowly. We don't put so much product out, because I see some buyers here.
Hello.
But for instance, what is different at us, we make a collection of, I don't know how many SKUs to use a merchandising term. But let's say we have one coat. No, let's say we have 2 coats. We make one coat in one fabric and one color, and the other one in one fabric and one color. There's no options for buyers.
Okay. That's amazing.
We don't give options. We give options sometimes when we think commercially it could really work and buyers need it, but we never go more than 2 or 3. So everything is quite restricted, and that we inherited from Asdi, because he was very dictatorial about it.
Yeah, it's true. So your career so far has seemed nothing less than stellar. You were one of the most relevant designers of the contemporary age, but sure, you have had some minor temporary setbacks, some bumps in the road. How did you, cope with minor failures? Did you accept them?
Big failures. I was fired, abused. No. No. Honestly, I think I accepted, although I am somebody very ambitious,
Okay.
I think I accepted that time is important in a career. So although I dreamt, together with my ex-partner, of being creative director, and we worked towards it, we've never put a timeline on it, never. Um, Based on many reasons, because also think that things happen
For a reason.
for a
For a reason.
reason.
Yes.
If it's for you, if it's not for you, I didn't want to be unhappy to put a timeline on. So I just went with the flow, and I always thought, and my mother always said, if you work very hard, things come to you. If you don't work very hard, they won't. So I think hard work and being open helps a lot. And of course, being lucky. I was
Yes.
very lucky to meet people in my career. Very lucky. Of course, they were very lucky meeting me.
Absolutely, yes.
but it's some,
True.
but sometimes it's also that it's I young kids, I remember also in high school, you always have that professor that you look up to,
Yes,
and that
a
pushes
mentor.
you
Yeah.
next to your parents. And I had multiple people in my life around me that did that with me.
Sometimes you're lucky in your life if
Yes.
you meet one of them.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
met
And
multiple of them.
I met a few of them, yes, and I was very lucky. That's why I still do it in my with my teams and with my friends. I try to do the same thing because it's very important. We live the fashion world is very egocentric.
Absolutely,
now.
yes.
And if we talk about brands now, we only talk about creative directors.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, now a little bit the CEOs, but who cares? No, and then maybe you cut this one out.
We're not going to.
We are not going to do that.
So, what was I saying?
I
Yeah,
don't know, I got
sorry.
lost.
So we talk a lot about only the creative directors, but if you really think about it, there's hundreds of people working for the same cause as the creative director. He's just the guy who leads the orchestra.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
And
but-
that is a little bit of pity in our fashion world. And that with the people I met, like Raf, who always pushed me in the front, is quite rare. And I try to do the same. And if you guys do the same with people in your team that you really think, that you appreciate and think are full of talent, it will push a little bit further. Things.
Yeah.
And things like what happened to me happens to other people also.
Can I ask you something a bit more?
Personal?
Yes, a bit more personal. It's my idea, or if I look the work you did for Alaïa, there was a change after the show you did in your house.
Yes,
It felt a bit more liberated.
but true. If you take on a house like Alaïa and your task is to make it from a house to a brand,
Yeah,
to one of the most cherished names in the fashion world, also to me, because Asdi never gave in to anything, nothing commercial, only the top. I have to say that the first shows were constructed in a way that it's not that I was afraid of it, but
respectful.
very respectful, because I always also think that brand deserved it.
Yeah.
From the moment I showed in my house and I invited everybody in my house, which in the beginning was a great idea, but in the end was a nightmare.
Wow.
Because I'm already nervous when I invite people for dinner in my house, because you
Yeah,
can
tell
you
me
imagine
about
having
it.
150 people in your house. But in the end, my therapist said it was a great idea.
Oh, okay, that's
So,
amazing.
so it paid off for me.
But why did you decide to do it in the first place?
Because the company is structured in a way now, he invited everybody constantly in his personal kitchen.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I don't want to cook in his kitchen because it would be just ridiculous if I would
No,
do
but-
that. And also, I don't have access to that kitchen because it's part of the foundation.
Okay.
So the company split up,
Yeah,
which is completely normal. The foundation talks about the past. I talk about the today and the future. So I wanted to just bring something personal to the company, and that's as personal as I could go to show where a collection was dreamt of and designed, which is my house in Antwerp. So it was actually a beautiful moment, and I think it opened something in my mind that I could go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we built it up then collection by collection. At one point we did the collection with one yarn, one wool yarn fully, which basically was unbelievable technically.
Yeah.
But I think from all of them, it's also the one that I'm the most proud of aesthetically, because that collection changed for me something in my head completely for Alaïa. It meant we could go sexual and conceptual at the same time.
Yeah.
And that people were very open for it, to accept that. And then we went on, and then the last one we showed 10 days ago.
It's 4th
or
of
last
March.
week.
4th of March.
Yeah, 10 days ago was a little bit more sculpture and conceptual, and that was only for one reason. One, because my heart told me to go a little bit further conceptual. Two, because people were copying us like crazy.
Salutiamo.
Let's say hi to...
Yeah, but I can be very open about it.
Yeah,
that
Yes.
as a small company, it could be quite dangerous business-wise, where low-leveled, not even fashion companies, I don't know how to say that, it's clothes companies,
Of course.
copy us, that it just felt a reaction to that.
okay.
Like we could go a little bit further. This mixed with, I also thought that the time was right to go there with the world going into pieces. That there's something on stage where you look at and maybe you're uncomfortable looking at, but it's still beautiful to look at.
But can I say that from the outside, it looked like, I didn't know about this, it looked like you finally got to a place where you are completely free to do whatever you want, which is fine, but also the brand has now shifted.
Completely.
It's not nice to say, but it's been liberated from Azzedine in a way. Azzedine is still there, but it's been opened up.
Azzedine will always be there, always, and I think it's also important. But maybe I was also the most nervous for this collection, and maybe that's why. That I didn't have the shadow of him on top of me.
Yeah.
Because I always worked in the shadow of somebody, which I always liked. Because shadow is nice and full sunlight can be very dangerous.
Well, on this,
But done?
I think it's there. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you so
Mulier.
much.
Thank you very,
Thank you
very,
very much.
very,
Thank
very
you. It
much.
was a
Blessing.
pleasure.
We are totally fine. Time's up.